Welcome to Film Study Podcast. It's fitting that this is like the last official review. I don't know. Maybe I'll hop in once or twice or something like that. But so far, this is like the last official review. And we're just like last week, we were winging it. We're not winging it necessarily this week, but we were like in a mad scramble before we got this thing. So I don't know.
Crazy.
We were talking about how Olivia's mess was rubbing off on us.
But we're gonna get roots this. They had on Olivia, they got it on you right now.
We're gonna get through this. And yeah, we're gonna get through it though. Welcome back to the pod. Let me take this time and, been saying this over the course of the past couple of episodes, but thank you to each and every one of the listeners who's been rocking with me for like over 3 years now, which is crazy. I remember texting you, Chanel, and being like, I feel like I should.
Yes, but you wanted to do this.
And I remember being so excited. I was just like, oh my goodness, it got to like 50 subscribers and now there's over 2,000, which is crazy.
That's amazing.
So yeah, thank you all. Some of you have been very vocal. I got haters too, is like my first experience with that.
Goodness.
So it's like I've like the whole gamut of interactions I feel like I have experienced through this show, and I've learned and grown because of it, and I got some really nice messages from people over the last couple of days as I said that I would be ending this. So just wanted to take the time to say thank you again, and hopefully this is not the last time you'll hear me, but definitely the last official review for Spencer James's story, which is crazy. He went out on a note. He went out on the highest of notes ever.
Yes.
So here's me and Chanel talking about I Do Part 2. Yeah, here it is. Not necessarily grading, and I know that I asked you this exact same question last week, but now that it is officially done, how do you feel about the ending of Spencer James's story?
I actually really liked it. I think coming back in after so long, like with last week's episode, someone in the comments was like, oh, the word that you're looking for is dry. Yes, last week's episode was dry in certain areas, but I think with this one, I had more context. I was kind of like familiar with the characters again, and I actually really enjoyed it. I think they wrapped it up really well. They gave this man his flowers. Like, I was watching this episode thinking, so Spencer James was like Mother Teresa. Like, I had no idea he was helping the community this much. You know what I mean? Ever since season 1, it's always been the community. But they really showed up and showed out for him. So I thought that was really cool. And I liked the way
I feel like some of the stuff that the people were saying were also news to the audience as well.
Oh, 100%. Because it was never part of his story. He's
never,
like,
ever.
You were 12 years old. I'm like, what? How far back does the show go? Yeah.
He is Mother Teresa. I feel like that is exactly how I feel.
I was like, dang, I didn't know you showed up for the community like this. Oh, my bad.
Showing up for the community, they had to get it. It was like he was sitting on his throne, just receiving the adulation from the townsfolk.
Yes.
To continue on our sort of fantastical conversation.
This man got his Lifetime Achievement Award. That's what it felt like.
Last week he got like a weight room and a media room and whatever else named after him, and this week it's just like, Spencer James, man, you taught me how to breathe.
Thank you. I remember when you taught me how to tie my shoes. No, 100%. Like, he was doing all of this. This is crazy. He made a name for himself at 12 years old. Come on now. Dropped off groceries? We'll get
I
into it.
know. I was like,
Looks like you
and
got
then
enough money to
part of me was like, so I understand it and I get it and I support it and I love it. But the other part of me was like, wait, so when we met him and he was fighting, where is the story?
That was a little rebellious spirit, Got to go through
It
some
was
trials
like,
and
oh,
tribulations.
but apparently it was literally just like that month before we met him. But I don't know. I don't understand.
I had no idea, but I was like, okay.
No, I think for his character specifically, I appreciated the wrap up. I think that again because, and I think for us as fans, because a joke throughout this series' tenure has been like, what about my moms? What about Dylan? What about Coop? What about Crenshaw? Like that's always been a joke, just for any person who has watched this series. And so to see Crenshaw show up for him was
Right.
really nice, to pull it together, to see him be calm. And so as his story wrapping up, I really appreciate specifically his story wrapping up.
Yeah.
I think for the other characters, I just left with some question marks, like what's going on with them. I mean, I feel like in terms of who we clearly have a set order for, I think we'll talk about it. But Coop is very clear. Dylan, I think you probably missed what happened with Dylan, but Dylan it's clear what's happening with him. But the other characters, I feel like not so much. So it literally is just his family. That was right.
Him and Liv, like you kind of know
and
what's
Liv,
happening
like
there.
kind of though. Like I don't feel like I know what's happening with Liv in the next portion of her life, but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate, and I appreciated specifically their wedding and their vows. And please don't hate me, audience. I do not have it because I was watching the show. I don't have it word for word written down their vows. But
you didn't write it down?
I'd
be there, pen and paper. No, I'm kidding.
I was pen and paper, but I was trying to listen as well as because we had this thing coming up. Because again, it is right after we watch the episode.
Yeah.
So please don't come for me in the comments, or come for me because this is the last review. Whatever you want.
YOLO, she don't care.
And they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so glad this show is ending."
That's so funny.
I'm so glad this show is over.
No.
But let's get into the backdrop of this. Obviously, we left off last episode and we knew that there was an issue with their venue. So what happened is like their sewer situation at whatever venue they had was bad and it got backed up or whatever. And then it ended up like, so if they don't get married this weekend, they just don't get married this year at all. Which was interesting because Spencer has to go back to training camp. As Jordan so nicely put it, it was a crappy situation.
You had to make a joke because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Exactly. And the group showed up like, I don't know how they figured it out by the time they got there. I guess Liv texted them all or something. The group chat got going, but they came in like first thing in the morning. Which, by the way, can I talk about this one little moment? I loved that Liv told Spencer, like, I don't care what's happened up until this point or whatever the bad luck. I just want you to be here tonight holding me. And I just thought that was like the sweetest thing ever. That was such a nice way, I think, to start off the show. And to show really that she just as she always has, but she just wants this wedding to be perfect because she really wants to marry Spencer. And she knows that he is her person. So that was really special. That was a really special moment. But, in the morning you hear her, like I said, she texted the group. She was angrily chopping up some fruit. I also love, just because I was just like, is anybody going to take that knife from her? And then Jordan said, is anybody going to take that knife from her? And then Layla actually took the knife from her.
Let me just take this. You don't need this right now.
So glad that the knife was taken. Also, can we talk about the fact that Patience got a little dig on Asher? I'm like, no, who in the writers' room had it out for Asher like that? Because he just said like one little thing about the wedding, and then Patience was like, don't you have a sick girlfriend and child to take care of? And I'm like, why are you coming for him like that?
Me finding out 5 minutes ago that he has a child, I was like,
Literally
what?
that.
Literally before this started, I was like, what do you mean he has a
because
kid?
they've
When
been
did
at
that
my,
happen?
and we didn't even see much of him at all. But yeah, so that was that. What did you think about? Obviously, they had the string of bad luck. Was the storyline last episode, but this one starting out with the venue and just setting the stage for what we would see in the episode. What did you think about it?
The entire time I just kept thinking to myself, girl, it's really not that serious. I mean, okay, granted, yes, it's your wedding, you want it to be perfect, yada, yada, yada. However, if I know this is my person, I really want to get married, let's go down in the courthouse and just solve this right now. Like, why would I sit here stressing out, waiting an extra year because crap is flowing through like the walls at this venue? It is what it is. We can just go down to the courthouse and fix this. That was my thought. Obviously, yeah, it sucks to have things fall through like that, but with the way that everybody rallied around, and of course, we know that things are going to work out. It was kind of just like, all right, let's let's get to the good part. You know what I mean? The happy part.
Right. And so I think, yeah, in terms of setting up, and we'll get into Liv's storyline and all of that. In terms of setting up, I didn't mind it because I didn't think that it would take as long as it took to get to the good part. Also, I just thought it was interesting that, like, I wasn't really understanding the fact that they didn't at least have another 2 weeks set out for their honeymoon. Because I was like, are you all not going on a honeymoon? If you were planning this far in advance, why would you plan it right up next to training
with
camp?
the training? I mentioned these training people were very strict. I was like, it's not that serious. Didn't y'all just win like a bowl or a chip
that's
or
what
whatever?
I'm saying, and especially
You
because
can't give this man 2 extra days.
It's not uncommon for coaches to give people essentially extensions.
Yeah.
And I think, like, in terms of Spencer, because he had that like rocket star rookie year, he really could have just said, like, I'm not showing up. Like, honestly, he could have said, I'm not showing up, and he could have, like, he has that, and obviously he's not gonna be that demanding of a person, but I don't know, I just didn't.
I would have pulled a Kawhi Leonard. I ain't coming. No,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, so I just, it's things like this where I'm like, if
so unreasonable,
because he is such a star player, and because, like, it's the little football things that just like grind my gears, because I'm like, this is not,
it's not something that would happen.
Yes. And if it is something that happened, he has other recourses to just say, like, no, I really, like, can't come. Like, I don't,
because,
like,
okay, what if it was something serious? What if somebody had passed away?
And that's what I'm saying. And so it's for his wedding. Like, I just don't know a single coach that's gonna treat their Super Bowl MVP rookie like that. And I think getting into Liv's story. Well, hold on. Let me pause on Liv. Let's go over Coop real quick. Let's go over Coop. But yeah, I agree. I also thought that was just very strange that his coach didn't let. Because it was Coach Montez too, and it's like, we know him and he's been great, so it's very random that he would just not allow Spencer to, just to take an extra couple days to get married. I would have just rathered it had been like, oh, we don't feel like we can't get married, and to your point, like, should we go to the courthouse, or if it was just that decision and not like his coach not letting him do it.
Right.
But getting to Coop, because that was literally one of the only other storylines. Coop got into law school at GAU.
Congratulations. No, I'm serious. Congratulations. I thought that
No, I know you're very excited for it. I'm like, good for you, girl. And then
was.
it's only good for you, girl, because she got into Yale.
Yeah, I know. I know. But maybe those Ivy Leagues, like they really go for one of those crazy stories. Like where you have, this huge turn of events in life. Like, yeah, I used to gang bang, but now I read law books and I applied and I got in. You never know.
I love how we've switched places. I've always been the most positive person on this podcast, and now it's at the end, and I'm like, no.
She's burnt out. She's tired. She's like, this doesn't make any sense.
Because it's just like
It's a pipe dream.
it's like just like going over the fence. Like I think as the audience and people that like watch this through, we've suspended a lot of disbelief in terms of like things that have happened on this show. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that Coop can't do it, but she's, at least in the time that we've seen,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, has
Hmm.
not been as like really all of like she's been dedicated, but she hasn't been that great of a student. Like
Gotcha.
she like was like picking fight. She even picked a fight with Laura when she was a guest lecturer. Like what are we doing?
Okay. They kind of did like a Legally Blonde thing.
Not
Like
even
it's just some.
that. At least Elle actually put in the work.
She got like I don't know what the score is
Here's
for
what
law
I
school. I
feel like.
forget.
I feel like Coop was one of those people that just common sensed her way out of everything.
Okay.
I don't feel like, because I love Legally Blonde, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like Elle Woods common sensed herself out of everything. We saw Elle Woods, not me getting on a whole Legally Blonde rant, but we saw Elle like reasoning her way through this. And the thing is like I buy GAU. It's where she went to undergrad. She got, she was enrolled in it. She's like a part of that. So of course it's like sort of like a certain extension of, I feel like it's a smoother path uh essentially to getting into law school. But again, just the fact that like this is the first time we've ever even heard of this Yale thing.
Yeah.
And granted 2 years have passed, but I'm like, Coop has never, literally she
We
was
never saw
getting
her
on
crack open a book
patience.
type of thing.
She was getting on patience for moving to the East Coast like 2 seconds ago. And so I just
Okay, it's not reasonable. But wait, why was she getting on patience about moving to the East Coast?
because Patience is like on Broadway now, or was supposed to be on Broadway. Which, by the way, we didn't get a single update on that. But she
Okay.
was, yeah, she got this
Broadway.
offer to be in a Broadway show, and Coop was like, "You're not cut out for Broadway." 2 episodes ago,
Oh, wow.
and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why is Coop being rewarded? Everybody's excited for her, but the second somebody else has something good going on in their life, it's like, oh, but for you? And then I just did not, when they were on the swings, I was like, this is cute and all, but Spencer talking about you always push us to go for our dreams. Who?
Not Coop, I guess.
Not Coop, sorry.
She said who? You're not gonna take the slander. Somebody out here lying. Bring up the receipts. Like the same way y'all did those flashbacks. Flashback to when she was being an op.
That part. That's
That's
all.
funny.
That's all I'm saying. And I guess my biggest thing with the ending of this season and the ending of Spencer's story and some of the other characters we still don't know yet, unless I'm like, am I getting a notification? Is that, I just would have liked these things. And I understand that they didn't have all of the time in the world, but I just wanted these things to be set up a little bit better.
Yeah.
And Yeah, good for Coop. Good for Coop.
I'm sorry. I know she was never your favorite, so it's always going to be something.
If anything, I am happy that they took the time, because this is something that back to the ethos of the show, is that Coop did say to Spencer, like, you know, people like us, with my past, etc., aren't supposed to go to Yale or Ivy Leagues or
Mm,
whatever have you. And, you know, Spencer sort of, moves her away from that thought process. And I agree. It's like you can achieve anything, in terms
that
of
you set
like
your mind to.
when you
Yeah.
can, when you set your mind to. Obviously that includes like things like we need access to things, especially as Black folks, especially
Yes.
as people that are of a lower socioeconomic status, things like that. But and so it's like when the access is there, which she had access to a lot of people in terms of Laura, in terms of
Yes.
XYZ, and so she had the opportunity. And obviously she was, because of her background, people look at that as like behind the eight ball a little bit, just because of her
Mm-hmm.
background. But again, that because of these opportunities and the environment that she was in, she got to do that. So I'm very, very proud of that idea and that
Mm-hmm.
sentiment and that ethos. I just think for Coop, she's one of the biggest ops in the show.
Just don't think that she deserves it. Should have gone to somebody else.
I don't know, and like I'm sure other people would disagree with me, but I just don't think that she's earned it. And I feel like everybody has helped her and I think pushed her more than she's pushed herself, in my own opinion.
Okay.
um I mean, I remember, you don't know this, but they tried to do a whole study group for her, and she was like combating against it for law school. And it's like people are trying to help you, so
Help you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing where it's just the way it's set up. Like, we just don't have to lie and talk about how Coop has pushed everybody to their dreams.
This is like Grace again. We don't have to pretend
We don't
this
have
is
to
what it
pretend.
was. I know, yes, the intent is to wrap everything up in a nice, pretty little bow. But I feel like where you're coming from, you're basically saying we don't need any pretense. If the character was like this from the get-go, stay true to that character. It's okay. Like, normal people are flawed, so there's going to be
Hmm.
good, there's going to be bad, but
Yeah.
we don't have to pretend that everything was honky dory since the
Sunshine and
beginning.
rainbows, right? Like, if we're gonna send Coop to Yale, let's send Coop to Yale, but let's not talk about how
Yeah.
she was this champion for everyone. Is all I'm saying. Is all I'm
Right,
saying.
right, right. Yeah.
But anyway, that was that on that, wrapping Coop's story up. In terms of where we've seen Coop come from and where she is now, how do you feel about her story wrapping up?
Um, I'm happy that her life has like purpose and direction now,
Hmm.
for sure, because where they started and obviously where she is now, two completely different places. Like I never saw that um being a part of her character development, but I'm happy for her. Like I hope that it works out. I don't know where else you can go with her character
Yeah.
necessarily. Because she is so tied to Spencer, and like of course, yes, if she's in law school, there's an aspect there, but
I mean,
I
once she's
just
gone to
don't.
Yale, she can't be clear because we're gonna be in
I mean,
Crenshaw.
that's exactly,
Yeah.
which depending on how they go about it, she may just go to GAU, stay local, and then be
Oh, that's
tied
true. If
into
she
the
signs on for another
story.
season, yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's why they gave the option. You
That's fair.
know,
That's fair. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
I
Yeah. No,
think
I get that.
they
I get
threw
that.
Yale in there because it's the
It's
iconic
very
school, right?
prestigious. Yeah, it's extremely
Exactly.
prestigious.
It's an Ivy League. It's, well sought after institution. So that's going to be like the attention grabber. Like, oh my gosh, you gone to Yale? Like, they weren't so just out of pocket with it that they said Harvard, but Yale is
Not
another.
out of pocket.
Like it wasn't a complete dream, but
But
still,
don't tell that to Yale graduates.
I know, right? No, if anybody from Yale is watching, I'm not. No tea, no shade, no shade, no shade. But I'm just saying, based upon, again, I know we were mentioning like Legally Blonde and stuff. So
Yeah,
based upon
that's
that
true. Yeah,
comparison,
yeah.
um,
Listen,
I don't
Elle
know
earned
what they're
her
gonna do with
way
her.
into Harvard Law School. That video
She
essay
did.
was
She's
fire.
the video essay. It's crazy because that is like ingrained in my memory.
I know.
I can like
It's
see
also
every
just such a
scene.
well executed story. This is a
Hmm.
whole other conversation, but I could have a lot of conversations on how good of a story Legally Blonde is.
Hmm. Up until the end, like the
Yeah.
end speech almost makes me emotional every time. It's crazy.
I know. I
Crazy.
know.
Yeah.
And you know what? Speaking, I don't know. Now it's just like parallels between Legally Blonde and All American, but because I'd say that Legally Blonde is a very hopeful, optimistic movie, very
Hmm.
hopeful, optimistic film. And so, what I appreciate about Legally Blonde as well that I can relate to All American is the fact that Elle just needed something to move her from her situation so she could like actually realize the potential that she had. And I think similar, and I mean, as much as I was just ragging on Coop, similar to Coop, similar to like a different characters in this show, is like they just needed an opportunity and to be placed in a little bit of a different environment,
Yeah.
to
To
like
see their true
fully
potential.
realize, yeah, their
Yeah.
potential. And I think what Legally Blonde recognizes is that, first of all, you're again being moved to a different environment, but also it's the people that you come into contact with, the people who have faith in you. And I think that that's super, super true for All American. It's like, and it's something that I do appreciate about Coop's story from then to now, is that she was just Spencer's best friend. And I often say like that's my favorite role of hers is Spencer's best friend. But I applaud Breezy because she has made, I don't get angry at people that I don't like feel is real, right? Or I have a feeling like this character is real to me. And Coop was very annoying. Like that was real. That was real for me, but I also rooted for her in some aspects because it's like, in season 1 I was like, Coop, you're better than this. You don't have to be in the gang. And so to see her go from that to
Hmm.
the feeling like that's what she had to do and still being very protective, like she had her reasonings for that, and that was protecting Sean, and to see her grow like over the course of 6 seasons, and now like actually not just doing something else to protect those around her but doing something for herself and actually picking a direction and sticking to it, like
Right.
that has been very exciting to see.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Very inspirational and aspirational.
very inspirational and aspirational. This was an incredibly minor storyline, but Jordan and Layla, uh, they got the Baker house.
Oh yeah. Yep. Which I think I called it. I was like,
You did,
well,
yeah, yeah. I
in
was
a
like, it's one or
sense.
the other. It's one or the other. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it makes
I
sense,
basically said
like
that
it
that's where they're gonna
because
be.
especially because they were so driving. This doesn't feel like home, even in this
Yeah.
episode. It doesn't feel like home.
That was kind of like the key word there. Like, oh, it
Yeah,
doesn't
when we
feel
got
like
those
home, but
flashbacks of the fort, I was like, oh yeah, they get in this house.
hmm. And the fact that she just gave it to them, I mean, granted, it's her son,
But
but
also, it was like I get it, but also, why was there no like? I need hints. I
mm,
need little foreshadowing. I mean, not everything has to be foreshadowed, but this feels like a pretty major thing. And then it was
I feel
when she
like
said
it
like
was hinted though.
it definitely hinted for them, but I mean like for Laura is just I
Oh,
just would have wanted like one more scenes to add some random episode of her sort of thinking about, because I don't even know, like, so she's moving out clearly, but where is she gonna live?
yeah.
I don't know.
With her boyfriend, isn't she
She
texting
is,
somebody?
but they never said that on screen. Give me
Well,
ABC.
yeah. They're like, here's D. You don't like it. No lead up.
You,
Ending.
oh my goodness. So yeah, they got the house, and then apparently, like Jordan found this random picture, and apparently Billy had a brother that was not
Honestly,
Willie's son.
okay, when you saw the picture, what did you think that was?
I did not have any thought. I just knew that it was going to be some sort of a cliffhanger, but I didn't have any thoughts on the.
Because I thought it was going to be a side baby. I was like, don't tell me Billy has
You know what
like
though?
an
I will say now that you're
actual
saying that, I was just like
son
that was
out
like in
here.
my back of my mind, but I also was just like I just knew it was going to be something crazy.
Yeah. But then and then when he confronted the grandpa about it, grandpa's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, oh, so he has a side baby, like a secret child. That's what it
How do
had to
you
be
feel? How do you feel about the revelation that took place over two scenes?
of
Yeah,
the him having like a half brother type of thing.
yeah.
I thought that was crazy, simply because I'm trying to remember. The grandfather said that it was Billy's
Mary,
mom.
his first her did he say her first husband or just that like she was
See, I don't even
and I
remember.
thought that they were like childhood sweethearts or something like I
You see
don't
what I'm saying? Somebody stepped
I'm
out,
but that's what
and he stayed with her. Wow, that's true love right there. Because that's crazy. But yes,
but he was also
I
very angry so I'm like so are we just so the woman just abandoned this child or
yeah,
like she's been
that's
a
so true.
talk about Mother Teresa. If there's anybody that's being presented besides Spencer as Mother Teresa, it was like the grandmother that was dead, Billy's mom, and like now she just abandoned this baby, kicked him to the curb. Like, what
So wait, we never did see Billy's mom, right? Like we don't
are
have
we
a
doing?
character to associate with
No,
her.
we just got
Okay,
that flashback of her in season 3 when Billy first went to Crenshaw.
I'm not gonna lie. I low key wished that it was like a son on the side as
I
opposed
know.
to an
I wish it
uncle.
was a son on the side. This would get back to like
This would tie
just
in the first season.
humanizing, but I also feel like humanizing Billy again and not like leaving him off on a saint um
Mm. Oh, is that how
ending.
they left him?
Yes.
Yeah,
It post death. Not even
gotcha,
literally just
gotcha.
post death.
Okay.
The best there ever is Billy Baker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess All American just wants to. They're gonna leave you in the best light, whether you're leaving the show voluntarily or through other circumstances, whatever it is gonna be.
They gonna
They're gonna give you a
find a
happy
way to
send off.
redeem you. Yeah.
Correct. You have been redeemed.
You have been redeemed. I am redeemed, in the words of Jonathan Nelson. Um,
Okay. You're wiping everybody's sins clean. So this
literally,
was the best person you ever came across.
literally,
Um,
preach, preach.
yeah, I low key wish that
Um,
it was kind of like a son though, simply because I feel like it would tie in that whole theory of Spencer from the beginning of
I
like,
know,
this is our sibling. It's like, no, that's not your sibling, but that one is. Like, you know what I mean?
right? Yeah,
Um, but anyway,
but yeah, it was just
we're gonna
and
find
the
out who
thing
this
is, it's
uncle
always
is.
just like
At the end, I know there's like dash mess.
that exactly dash mess, but I'm like, I obviously that was the purpose, but I wanted more, but I was also just like. I don't know where this could go. You know what?
Okay, I
I
thought you
was
were
just
gonna
like,
be like,
oh,
I don't care. I understand that this isn't. I don't care.
no, no. More of again, yeah. I just don't know where this could go, and
Hmm.
I think in terms of like the next season, we just didn't get. Usually, they leave us on multiple cliffhangers, and I understand it was like a send off to Spencer
Yeah,
and Olivia potentially, but I just was wondering, okay, so this is going to be the major storyline is like this new potential half brother uncle
right.
situation. But I was just like, I don't that doesn't necessarily give us a direct ties to the characters right now. Like it gives something for Jordan, I guess, to do, but it was I don't know.
Right.
I just wish we would have gotten more hints as to like what
His
potentially
purposes.
Yeah, and the next season is gonna look like. I have no clue what season 7 is gonna be based upon this last episode.
Maybe they just have a lot of, they're sprinkling a lot of storylines around there, so that way they maybe see what people are interested in and then
Yeah,
write from there.
that's
You know,
true.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know how the
Neither do I.
production process
We're
actually
throwing
works.
things at the wall and seeing if they stay.
Okay.
The other thing I'll say is that Jordan did accept the coaching position at South Crenshaw High, and he found his dad's playbook. And everybody knows how I feel about this storyline, but I was surprised that he didn't tell Liv that he was gonna be a coach.
But didn't she confront him about it? So she knew. Who told her? Spencer?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I'm just surprised that
Mm-hmm.
he didn't give her that heads up. I mean, we haven't heard Jordan really talk at all besides that one little line about this coaching thing, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
surprised that it was literally like there was
Yeah.
nothing there in terms of either
They didn't
him.
revisit that.
Yeah. And again, like I understand leaving it open ended for season 7, but I just thought that there would be more of a conversation maybe with Layla, obviously more of a conversation with Liv where they reflect on Billy. So it was just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was just surprised that was all that we got on that.
A scene of him like submitting his application or accepting the offer in an
Yeah,
email
or
or
even like
something.
talking about it with
Yeah.
Layla. We only saw him talk about it with Spencer, and then again, like as you know, Liv is packing up her life and obviously we got the like, oh, you can read the playbook, but it was also just not a greater conversation of like, oh my goodness, you're because so clearly, right? Like you're stepping into Jad's shoes, so it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
it didn't feel like a send off to them either, like to the twins. It just felt like okay,
Life is normal. Just
yeah,
it didn't
life
seem
is
like
normal.
a
Which is why,
huge
again, like I hear people
issue.
saying like Liv is gone, but we have not gotten the Samantha notification. And the way that this finale was set up, it did not seem like it was as much a send off for Liv as it was for Spencer specifically,
Okay.
in my
I
own opinion.
I hear that. I just agree that it's probably going to be difficult and weird to have scenes of her in it without him. But
I agree.
as much as they didn't give her the same send off, they also didn't leave a lot of loose ends. Like they didn't. There
For
are loose
anybody
ends in
though.
theory. Well, I mean, like there are loose ends in theory for her in the sense of like we don't know really what else is going on in her career or what she wants to do in New York or blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like there was no
Yeah.
conversation around that or scene around that, but they really just left it as this: they got married, she going to New York, and that it is what it is.
Right.
So
Yeah,
while she
no,
didn't
I
get the send
agree.
off, she also they didn't like alley oop her, you know, a storyline like, oh, she's gonna start this new job, and at least if we knew about the job or
I
something,
agree. I agree. I don't think that they did that for anybody except for Jordan. Jordan was the only character that I saw them
yeah.
sort of like you said, like alley oop and end or alley
And
oop a
Coop,
loose string. Yeah.
right,
Oh,
with
and
law
Coop.
school,
Yeah, with
yeah.
GAU or Yale.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it kind of with Jordan and Layla, obviously with the house, but more so because people kept mentioning kids for them.
Yeah,
Um, but even for Layla, like it wasn't anything.
nothing else about her life.
Yeah, nothing else about her life. So it was
Mm-hmm.
just interesting to see, like you said, that they didn't pull strings on any other character except for Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be that as it may, getting back
What
into
can I ask you a question before we
oh yeah.
continue? So, with Liv, what is your ideal scenario? How do you want this to play out? Do you want her to come back for next season, or would you want her to kind of conclude things and continue on with her acting career in other places?
I think like selfishly, I'd love to have her back on my screen.
Okay.
That I just enjoy her character because yeah, she's time for tops, man. Always has been. Um, but obviously, like Sam is like supremely talented, so it'd be great to see her in something else, pursuing other ventures. I think in terms of her coming back or not, I don't have a feeling either way of like
Okay.
where again, like selfishly, it would be great to see her on the screen again. I think regardless, we're gonna see her in some capacity, regardless, as well as Spencer. We're gonna see him in some capacity. But I could see them again making her a like recurring character where she's
Hmm.
not in every single episode, but she's like back for a weekend or whatever have you, or back for some sort of special event that's going on. And she's in, let's say, what is it, a 13 episode season next season. So she's in like, I'm gonna be generous and be like 5 of those episodes. She's in like five
Gotcha.
of 13. Just in terms of like she's living a bi-coastal life a little bit. But so that's how I could see them working it in. And see them. I don't know if you know this, but did I tell you she wrote a kids book on Billy?
I think I remember Kids Book. I didn't know that it was about Billy.
Okay, yeah. So she wrote a kids book on Billy. It was originally supposed to be a biography on him, but it shifted into a
Oh,
kids book later on in the season. And then in the first finale, so episode 13, we when we jumped ahead, we saw that it like there was like a whole like Coach Billy like doll line or action figure or something, and then that it was being made into a TV show. And so that's one of the things where I've said like, oh, she could be back for the TV show she's overseeing, like this TV show
got
getting
it.
made.
Okay.
So that's how I could see it, but obviously I could also see it like wrapping up and she is just like essentially guest starring for whenever that episode that Daniel guest stars too. um and for I'm assuming he'll be back for one exactly. But again, I'm saying all of this and like it feels like she's it feels like she should not be coming back, let me say that. But
Hmm.
we have gotten no notification, even like even in the most recent articles. The showrunner did not give any. I thought we would get a notification on who's coming back like tonight, and the showrunner
Okay.
did not release any names, at least not as of when we're recording this. And so far, Daniel is literally the only cast member that is confirmed not coming back.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But again, so I think like in terms of what I want to see, again, Sam is really, really talented. Would love to see her chew on something else, chew on a new character. But obviously, it's like I love Liv, so happy whenever I get her. What about you? I mean, now that I don't know you, but like, what do you think? Are you're more closer to love to see her do something different?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where I'm at for all of them. I mean,
Hmm.
if they are voluntarily making the decision to maybe do the show part time or, like per diem, whatever it may be, then yeah, I want to see them succeed in other areas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm I'm all for, sticking on a show and making your money. Um, but I also really admire growth and getting to do other
New
things and
challenges.
stretching
Yeah. New
yourself.
roles. New
And yeah,
parts. Yeah.
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 Because I think even the best things can get
Must
stale
come
after a
to
while if
yeah.
you
Must
don't.
come to an end. All the good things must come to an end. To be
Exactly.
fair, I mean, again, this show could last as long as it wants to, but to be fair,
Yeah.
I do think that like this next one
Might be the last.
might be
Yeah.
the last.
It's going to be really hard to carry a show without the main character.
Yeah. And I guess that's why I was so surprised that they didn't pull on any more loose ends because
Hmm.
I feel like
You,
I
you have
left
to
this.
have something interesting for people to come back to.
Yeah. And again, besides the uncle half brother storyline and you know,
Right.
Jordan being a coach, which, you know, I'm not going to get back into that, but it, I just felt like you need at least one or two more things. I mean, you mentioned it too, like Coop being a lawyer, but also like where can that go? Like, is she going to
Yes.
be a full-time lawyer? Like, she can't skip ahead. Or I don't think that they can take another time jump, because they also said they're doing this next gen thing. We saw some of them in terms of like Dion and Amina, and I don't
Oh,
remember
you
the
know
other.
the names. That's
I don't
good.
listen. It took me a long time to even get to this point. The only reason I know Amina is because we've seen her since, or we've known this character since season 3.
But that's a preacher's daughter.
That's Preacher's daughter.
Okay, because that was my other question or comment. Like, who is the demographic for this show? Are teens watching this now? Or because I'll be honest with you, like
It's
I'm
like,
32 now, so like
yeah,
there's certain things that I can relate to and other things that I can't.
right.
And I was really confused because you started and they're in high school, and yeah, when I'm in like my mid 20s, I can relate to like to
Yeah,
things in the
so like,
sense of like
yeah,
college
yeah.
and high school, but like now, who I'm so cute. Yeah, who's
Well,
watching
and
this
that's the
show?
thing,
Who
is
we
because I assumed
targeting?
this was like the, you know, sort of, again, more so Jordan in terms of being a coach and uh I guess starting a family, but it
But
just,
what high schooler is going to be interested in that? Like,
what high
what
schooler, and
young?
because like All American has a really big, like, just range of people that watch the show, and I know it was
Right.
like a very family show. Like, it is a teen drama, or started as a teen drama, but they have developed organically this big sort of family
Okay.
audience and something that all ages can watch. But to your
Okay.
point, we have sort of grown up with these characters, and I'm surprised that they're not, that any sort of refresh is not following, even if, you know, even considering Daniel sort of departing the show, but that we're
Mhm.
not following them as true young adults. I mean, one of the criticisms was like, why are they going through adult things as teenagers? And now they're like actually young adults, and it's like, what's it gonna be now? Because then we're
Yeah.
flashing back to high school, sort of, kind of. I don't know. So
Hmm.
I don't know.
And it's crazy too because I think last time we spoke, you were saying that they're, I guess the age now is about 22, 23, or 21, within
Yeah,
that range. I think
I have
they're
to be like
going
23
through,
and up, something like that. Yeah.
okay, because I was going to say, I feel like they're going through very, very adult things, and that is still a very young age. I feel like,
Yeah.
and not everyone's timeline is the same, but I feel like in your 20s, it's always associated with having fun and partying and going out and
That's
dating
what
and
I'm
meeting
saying. I'm
people and all
just
that stuff.
very surprised that we didn't get any sort of like, any sort of, we're becoming adults, we are young adults sort of
Right.
era.
They
Uh
went to 35 very quick,
that's what I'm saying. And it's
very
all
quick.
great that they're getting a house, but the fact that,
Right.
why aren't Jordan and Layla staying in an apartment? Like, why do they need to stay
Yeah.
in a house with a deed right now? Why, you know, obviously the pregnancy, I feel like that's just something that happens on TV. So I
Mm-hmm.
buy like, I buy that foreshadowing and that
Mm-hmm.
idea, but also it's, you know, are they going to do something where they're like trying and it's not work? I don't know. I don't know, and I
Yeah.
just didn't feel, coming away from this specific episode, I didn't get a strong sense of the direction, um, new or old, right, that this show is going into.
Right.
And so, I mean, hey,
Yeah.
maybe that's, they're treating it. It is a new show. It is not just that they're treating it as a new show, but it is going to be a new show. But I'd love to see a little bit more just on where the direction is going, just so, I don't know. I as an audience member, even though I'm not necessarily going to do this podcast, I still want to support the show. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to be flailing and thinking about what's it gonna be.
Right. Yeah.
um,
Hopefully, if they continue the show and introduce new characters, we can see more of a young adult type of thing.
Yeah.
And they don't go to very serious adult issues so quickly. Because, I mean, if we're being 100% honest, there are very few early 20-year-olds in this time that are settling down, getting married, buying houses. Like, we're in 2024. That's just not relatable to the average person at all at that age. That is more so for people, I would say, potentially late 20s, 30s, late 30s. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can see them be just a little bit more, maybe true to the time.
Yeah, and I think it's also, why couldn't we, if this was the direction that we were going to take, just take a bigger leap in terms of
In
timeline
time.
jumps?
Yeah.
It was just 2 years, so why aren't, which is very long but also very short, so why not do a 5-year jump where they're 26?
Right.
And then that way, I believe Spencer James has been in the NFL for like 2-3 seasons now, and he's Super Bowl MVP, and he and Liv are getting married. And so I'm just, the timing of it all, to your point, is where are we going here? Because they're still very young adults, but back to what I was saying in terms of, at least again, Jordan, as we know, is that he didn't have a direction, and now it feels like this direction has been sort of forced on him. And let me not even say he didn't have a direction, because I do think that he did, and we heard him want to be in the NFL, and then that changed suddenly. And so now it's, oh, he's going to be a coach like his dad, and also maybe going on some mission to find a secret half-brother. And it's, what else? What's going to keep us coming back for season 7?
Yeah,
is my question. And so yeah, that's been we're both sort of very coming away from this episode, I think, in the same spot of just, we don't know necessarily where it's going from here. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. But with that being said, the biggest part of this episode was the wedding. Obviously, it was all about the wedding.